my day.
Well, I don't like the word graffiti because it doesn't accurately describe what we do. That word is placed on our art form by the media, and it doesn't describe just, how much talent it takes to do what we do.
We started riding on trains because here we are living in the South Bronx, and it's all dilapidated, We had nowhere else to paint. Someone got the idea of let's put our names on that train, and it kind of became like a voice from us, a voice of the ghetto.
It's like a traveling canvas. It's like great artists painted on canvases.
Yeah,
they wanted to express their art. But we have a certain kind of canvas. We have a canvas that no matter what, it's going to travel around, and people, I'll do my piece in the Bronx, and it'll travel through Manhattan, and people see it in Manhattan. It'll travel through Brooklyn, and people see it in Brooklyn.
And it became like my newspaper, and telling people, hey, man, here I am, Kid in the South Bronx, man, living in hell. It was wrong at the time, but I got a good feeling out of doing that. It made me forget about what's happening around me a lot of times.
I think sacrifices have to be made in any art form that's new. And if the subways was a sacrifice, then, so be it.
New York City got transit, and that's the way that they get their thing around, and the only thing I got is walls. When I first came to Heathtown, it was strange seeing a place like that, a place that was like built up and close, like a lot of walls and dark grey walls. Living in that kind of community, it's just another urban no-go. It was through the social conditions of what I was living in, which inspired me to paint. In the earlier days, it was kind of cat and mouse, what I was doing. And slowly when the murals built up in Heathtown, it got to about 60, 67 murals. And then things started getting hot, And I kind of really confronted the police about painting because they would see me painting in an environment which was a closed community. The police have never really come down on me because I would be automatically back out there and painting again because that's where I live.
Well, we have our own language, We write to each other on moving trains. We call each other. We have singles and stuff that nobody knows. Like, we're walking down into a tunnel, we'll go, ee-wee, and they'll know who it is just by that call, Automatically, they know to get out the way because the bus is coming through.
The public would look at our art, and they're like, half of them would like it because of the colors. We bring life to the trains. Instead of a dull gray train, you're seeing colors there. It's like bringing, new colors into your life, There were some who would just put it down. They would condemn it without even looking at it, without even giving it a fair look. So that gave, our art a bad name altogether. That's what gave it the name graffiti. The first graffiti artists, they started with just writing their names, as you would write it, with a pen on a paper, just your name. And what they would do is just fatten up the lettering, a few times. That's how it all started. That was the first wave. The second wave, they started adding on more things to the fat lettering. They would add another color around it to, accent it. Then us as the third wave, now we add more dimension and depth to it. Now we know how to use color schemes, and more or less we can liven up pieces.
How did I get my name? I got my name. See, when I was a little kid, I was a big little kid, so they called me Big T, right? And since I was a little kid, they used to call me Kid. So I kind of put the T and the Kid together. Next thing I know, I'm T-Kid. Then I became Terrible T-Kid, because I'm terrible. I'm nasty with my artwork,
I got my name in school, when I was in school, and we were studying mythology, and the god of fire and craftsmanship was named Vulcan. And I thought that was, it was a pretty cool name, and it kind of matched, what I wanted to do.
Originally, I started writing too nice, and I took out the two and just added the R, and I liked the way it sounded. It had a good ring to it, and plus I had a different style of art compared to the other guys. So it was like, hey, I'm calling this nicer art.
I didn't have to go through all that choosing and picking and guessing. Somebody gave me my name.
You inherited
I took
it.
the shortcut. I inherited it. This is my name, but it's not actually in letters. I got a B here, which represents the letter B. I got a castle, which will represent the I. And this spray can top is supposed to represent the O. Well, not everybody does use their own name. I do it a lot because I think it's a challenge to try to get it different every time, to make the letters different, you know, and expand on different ideas. But you're still, it's almost like your own language. You're creating your own language by twisting your own alphabet, you know, forging new letters. It's not even, this right here is a V, but, you know, it's not a V that maybe you could relate to, but somebody else can, you know, that watches my style, and watches trains and watches this art form.
Wow style. Wow style. Wow style was a gang, right? That they originated letters that are very wild, okay? And they started back in the late 60s, all right? So the term wild style letters came, in fact, from the gang Wild Style, and which is like also a way of life. That's how we live, wild style. So the best writers, they do wild style, and they live wild style.
The art ranges in different forms. It has simple style, wild style. T-Kid, like, he does wild style. Vulcan does wild style. Wild has nice simple style, and he's also Obama. But I just do characters. This is a robot here smoking a cigarette. See, I titled this painting Smoky Dreams because if you see in the background, there's like a futuristic city. And in the forefront, you see like a abandoned building scene and with a broken window. And behind the building, there's like a robot hiding, and he's, you know, hiding to smoke a cigarette. More or less like you can have your own meaning to this sort of thing. I just paint, you know, and I just enjoy getting into it and making up my own stories while I'm painting. A lot of people could come up to me and say, oh yeah, I think that is, you know, and that's the joy about it, because like everyone sees something different in what you do, and it makes you like happy.
I'm inspired by a lot of the New York writers, you know what I mean, and like, I stick to my own kind of different style. With me, I don't really write my name, because I think my name's irrelevant over here. It don't mean nothing to nobody. You know what I mean? If I go and write a social comment or what I want to say, express myself loud, that's something which I'm facing the public, you know, face to face, and saying, well, this is what I want to say. I like to paint like sci-fi kind of things, because that's the kind of, I suppose that's just a style which I like to do. Lost in space, it's like, in a place like this, a lot of kids lost in space, they get to 5, they see crime, and they, you know, that's all they've got to live for, and they grow up, and then they have kids, and the kids stop here, and you see pregnant girls walking around, like young, you know, 16, 17, and, you know, they have kids, and that's the only thing they're going to do, that they're just being stereotyped to be in that kind of lifestyle.
I've been good, and I've been bad. I've been guilty of hanging around.
So really it has two meanings. On the artistic side, being able to do something which I want to do, and on the social side, being able to write a comment that the public will understand.
Most spray paint artists aren't formally trained. They don't have any formal training. Some do, some don't. But I think in an art form this new, there is no right and wrong, and the innovators in it are the ones that, you know, make up the rules and set the trends and develop techniques. And I think that's a good thing. You know, you don't have anybody telling you what to do. I mean, because there were artists before there were art schools.
Let me tell you something. Most of us, like me, I never went to art school.
Nobody has gone to art school.
I never had to deal with no arts or anything like that. My art was when I woke up in the morning, I walked down the street and I looked around me, that was art. You know, seeing a wino laying on the street, you know, hangover from the night before, blood on the street over there somewhere for something that happened the night before, you know. All this, you lay in bed at night sleeping, you know, and you start hearing these things and you get all these ideas in your head.
There's rarely a chance you ever get to see anybody painting because it's illegal. So like they get different images of you. Like you'll meet somebody and they'll tell you, your bio, wow, I had a whole different picture of you. I thought you was white, or I thought you was black. I thought you were bigger because of your paintings. You always like do big, colorful stuff. I thought you were a giant, not so big.
Survivors is like directly attacking, you know, like nuclear war, like nuclear holocaust. You know, he's looking for survivors and he's like the only man left. And he's not even a man, he's like half a man. Future War Machines is like the whole scene really, the whole thing, like with machines taking over. Like, you know, man getting something to replace himself. It's not saying, you know, machines can't exist, but, you know, there's machines to plough a field and there's machines to kill men.
This is a famous photo of Marilyn Monroe. Everyone's seen that, you know, like the dress being pulled up with the wind. But what I'm doing here is like making the aerosol spray can, like sort of like lifting her dress. So it's like my own little funky fantasy.
You do all kind of like throw-offs of different things, and that's what makes the art develop, through doing different things. Like, you know, they can't turn around and say that that's graffiti. Canvas is just a, you know, another medium just to show the public. It's more of a textbook of, you know, giving them a bit of education on what I'm doing. You know, my medium's walls, and like obviously to forward it any further is to, you know, put it on canvas and show the public this is what we're about.
Kids are beginning to tag on buses over here and do a lot of stuff like just writing on walls. And people's gonna, right away, that's gonna give people a negative response towards the art. And that's what we're trying to prevent here, to tell these kids to, you know, hey, do your work on canvas or do nice commissioned murals.
I go around the community, I see these kids, and I talk to them, and I tell them the story. I tell them what it's like, you know, how it could be when you mess something up, and how good you feel when you fix something up. You know, I try to explain the difference to them. You know, since I was at both ends of the fence, you know, I was here and I was there. And I see that while I was on the other end of the fence, which was crime, you know, doing it illegally, I wasn't getting nowhere, you know? Now that I'm on this side of the fence, I'm getting somewhere, and whoever comes in with me, they get somewhere too.
I'm not sure everybody can walk off the street and do this. Just walk in, pick up a can, and do something like this. That's why, you know, I feel we should get the respect as artists.
You could like it, you could hate it, but I'd like to just be considered an artist, and I'd like to be able to have people look at my work. I like to be considered a fine artist, and spray paint to be considered just the medium I use. I just like it to be viewed, period.